This video would be long as it is long. Um, this video here is about the damaging of cells and the process in which we reach to the extreme where cells get so damaged that we are now calling them, malignant cancers. How did we get from regular to a malignant state? This is the question, and this is what this video is addressing. So first of all, we would jump around and look at some important information. A cell is not made from glucose. A cell is made from amino acids put together by the great instrument of the awareness, the consciousness, which is stored in the genetics, and of course the expression happens through a process where information is given to the brain is sending that information to the nucleus of existing cells. This nucleus of existing cells stores information, and when the time has come, stimulation has happened. According to the Trio protocol, stimulation has happened. The stimulation creates the epigenetic signal to tell that nucleus to make a specific type of feelings or whatever, and that is expressed in a hormone, neurotransmitter, or whatever. Largely, it's an expression of what we call a human protein. This human protein is made from amino acids coming together based upon the instruction that was sent from the nucleus to something called the ribosomes through this message, and the ribosomes do not have any clear idea of the truth. It just has an idea of what to do. So the ribosomes are told to make XYZ, meaning take 3 or 4 or 20 or 5 million amino acids, stitch them together, and just release them back into the cell. Maybe some of them is for the cell itself, or some of them is for the blood. That's what the ribosomes will do. And in that process, we are here understanding these proteins are basically good, excellent. There are times when you do not supply the proper amino acid, so you could have misfolding. There are times when you have misfolding happening because you should be in a state of making your protein without having reactive oxygen species. And that reactive oxygen species comes about because of mitochondria misfiring, or somewhere in the electronic transport chain, mitochondria is messing up, creating this reactive oxygen species, leaking out into the electron, and this ROS does not have antioxidants like vitamin C, right, to tame it down, and so it hits a protein when it is made and causes the protein to become misformed, misfolded, disshaped, whatever you want to say. It becomes a bad protein now, a bad human protein inside the cell, because the missile came from the mitochondria's process. What is the mitochondria's process? Largely, the mitochondria is misfiring or making a lot of ROS because of our consumption or its burning process of the fuel glucose. Nothing wrong in this, but glucose should not be burned without having the buffers ready, standing by, and available to tame down ROS when glucose is being burned. What does that mean implication wise? When we are eating glucose, we are supposed to have vitamin C or some type of antioxidant, glutathione, or some type of antioxidant supplied adequately so that your burning of glucose, when it creates this in the electronic transport change process, when you have ROS being created, the ROS could be wrapped up, folded up, and taken care of by the cleaner or by the catalytic converter, which is vitamin C. And of course, you should have your following up to clean up everything there. So you have to comfort yourself with antioxidant being present, specifically in the glucose burning process. If we are looking at the other process where the mitochondria could use fatty acids to convert it into energy, there is a lot less mishappenings of ROS. But in this case, you also provide yourself with the tocopherol, vitamin E. Same issues. The mitochondria naturally would make ROS. Glucose makes the most ROS. Glucose by itself, not supplied with its antioxidant vitamin C, leads to us having free radicals ROS that cannot be controlled because there is no vitamin C to pull that ROS aside and say, hey, calm yourself down and don't interfere the rest of the cellular activities, which is going to be things like protein being coming from the ribosomes. Now, this is also instructive to understand in the day when you consume your plant-based products. If you are consuming that, you will be consuming glucose, you consume vitamin C with your plant-based products. That is why a fruit is a much more pleasant, extreme good thing than a bowl of cereal or whatever else plant-based products, because the fruit comes with the glucose and comes with the vitamin C. Yes, you could say it comes with fructose, but the liver would convert the fructose to glucose, so we go into the cells, ignore what goes into the liver, try to cut, the vitamin C would be provided from the fruit. So you see the fruit having a better natural balance to support your mitochondria's activity. Therefore, a fruit is a much more healthier product than any other product that we have from the plant kingdom. The starch products comes with little vitamin C. The tubers, the roots, the disc comes with little vitamin C. The vegetables, some of them have vitamin C. They are much more pleasant and healthy for the mitochondria because they are supplying vitamin C. Of course, the implication for you is if you are eating a lot of processed foods, breads, over-the-counter flours, and those things that we have from the supermarket, if that is what you have, the best you could do for yourself is get some vitamin C liposomal and consume that along with your food consistently to make back vitamin C with your glucose, supplying that into your mitochondria. So it is very important and instructive to understand this going forward, because we are living in a world with realities where our system does not give us fruits, it gives us processed sugars, and these processed sugars are no longer with the vitamin C. This is the information we need to hear, and this is what happens to us as we go along. So here is your mitochondria actively working in the consuming the glucose, consuming the pyruvates from the processes, making it into the ATP, and this little ROS, which is very, very reactive, is there. You do not have vitamin C. That little ROS says, well, I'm free to do what I want. It jumps out wherever it jumps out into the cell, sees a ribosome making a little protein there because maybe you have a little something to be made and the ribosomes is making this protein. And again, folks, protein are being spinned out by amino acids coming together. Ribosome is making a little protein, and their ROS says, hey, look at this little guy, bang into this little protein. Now this protein was being made to heal you or to do some neurotransmitter, moving something to a message or a hormone, or something is being made for your own goodness and benefit by this ribosome. You got the instruction from the nucleus got the instruction from the brain got the instruction from your epigenetic environment, which is something you're sensing. And that whole expensive activity of folding that protein, that human protein, by the ribosome just got messed up because a reactive oxygen species says, well, there is no vitamin C and nobody to stop me, so I'll be a little bandit, and it rushes into it, sends all this whatever energy and causes that protein to become bad. Now at this stage, the protein is there, and you have some cleanup guys who says, no, we need to fix this, and they go around trying to fix this. Now this is the scientific word for it, ubiquitination or something like that. So it's another set of maybe amino acids that has to come into play to make enzymes, because enzymes are amino acids. We just call them enzymes because that's a nice name. So they are amino acids coming together immediately to come and do this cleanup mechanism. So the rule for ubiquitination here, according to ChatGPT, that's what I'm using, is very much to quality control of misfolded protein. Now you ask, how did the protein get misfolded? Well, the protein get misfolded because our ROS largely is the one that would cause the damage. There are other ways, but the main way that our newly formed protein, human protein, this is not what you eat in, this is not meat and things in your stomach, this is your amino acids coming together in the cell at the cellular level, join together, and it makes a protein by the ribosome just spit out this protein, and this new little piece of cloth, and here comes a little matches that just light this piece of cloth, burn a two piece of hole into it, and here comes this enzyme that has to come back and say, let me try to get rid of, fix this thing, or send this thing back into amino acids. Let me disintegrate this thing, make it back into amino acids again. So the little matches that came and light, or the little spark of fire that light and burn the hole, is your ROS, which came from your mitochondria process. That ROS happens in the mitochondria, but it should be tampered down by vitamin C, but be absent of your vitamin C. I'm saying vitamin C, but there are others. Vitamin E is an antioxidant, there are other antioxidants, but the lack of the antioxidant with your glucose metabolism or your glucose burning process leads us down that pathway of free ROS, reactive oxygen species. That's why we sometimes use the word free radicals. They just don't have the thing that they should pull them out so that they don't behave big and bad. And so they do what they have to do, and they behave big and bad, and they damage your human created proteins by burning them. And so this ubiquitination process comes into play one time to clean up that misfolded protein, because you do not want to have, well, protein should not be hanging around in your cell, because it is gonna cause the future state of events being discussed in this video. So when the proteins are there, they become ubiquitinated, they get cleaned up, they are converted back into amino acids. They are converted back into amino acids. Maybe one piece of the amino acid, let's say you had a 5, well, they say don't use the word protein, human protein, until it's 52, but let's just say we have 5 amino acids that made this new protein, and maybe 4 are being recycled through the ubiquitination process. Maybe 4 gets fixed, 1 might be damaged. Whatever happens to that damaged one, I don't know. Maybe it gets out into the lymphatic system with the lymphatic waste out of the cell to go for dumping, maybe, or maybe it's just because I don't know what happens when the ROS bond through the protein, or when it damages the protein. We don't know what happens, but some are recycled. Some definitely amino acids get back into the structure for amino acid pool. And of course, once you have amino acid pool and you have the ribosomes getting signal from the nucleus, then the ribosomes would say pull some amino acids. So amino acids are by themselves okay. Now that's ubiquitination. Now if this is happening and this is true, then everything should work out fine, because every time we have a misfolded protein, so damaged cells, so the cell is not yet damaged because the enzymes that ubiquitinate or clean up the protein, that's immediately they get created. So the story goes down that you continue eating the same way, creating a lot of ROS, don't have the antioxidant vitamin C, specifically vitamin C, another antioxidant to clean up the ROS, so you have more ROS. 2-3 years you have more ROS, 4 years more ROS. What is happening now? More ROS means as your amino acids are folded into human proteins, you are having more and more damage of your proteins when they are spinned out by the ribosomes in the cells, and we're speaking about trillions and trillions of cells, and so the ROS are bouncing into them, damaging them. More ubiquitination is happening. Now remember, to do this process, the enzymes still have to be created. They are created from the same amino acid pool. So now you start straining your amino acid pool to create enzyme to clean up protein that has not done its work, because it was meant to do its work, but it cannot leave the cell because it's now damaged by ROS, and you are now taking amino acids just to make enzymes and going back and start over the process of recycling a protein, and the protein is made again and another ROS bunks into it, and you have this amino acids coming back, pulling from a pool of amino acids, and you're trying to make a protein. As soon as you make it, another ROS is bunking into it. Why? Because the ROS are in the cells, because you do not have antioxidant, and the damage continues, and somebody wins. Somebody has to win, and largely the ROS might be the one damaging all the protein, so the protein is not repairing you. And you go to the point where you are not conscious enough to realize that this is where we are in terms of our process. Our cells start to become more and more degraded, and there is so much protein now in the cell that is damaged because the enzymes are slow in cleaning up, so you're having more and more protein being damaged in the cell at the cellular level. And with more and more protein damage in the cell having to be cleaned up, the body moves into the second phase. The second phase, according to ChatGPT here, is autophagy, where another set of high level enzymes, autophagy enzymes, would come to clean up these damaged mitochondria, the misfolded protein, and other cellular debris via these supporting nighttime workers, the lysosomes, very much the cleaners. Now, this process is the one that is well done when you sleep. They come about and they do this along with the ribosome. So these are the night workers, the lysosomes. They come out and clean up your body when you sleep. The more you sleep is better. Like, you go and have the proper rest, let them do their work, because basically when you're sleeping, it's protein creation time. The ribosomes have to spin out new enzymes, spin out new human protein for healing, and that is why you do not want to sleep with anything that would supply glucose, because one, the mitochondria's activity should be very much at the lowest state when you sleep because you are not active, and two, if the mitochondria is burning glucose while you are sleeping, it's also more probable that you'll be making more ROS to mess up the entire process of autophagy. So this here is quite important to understand in the night. So what's important? Your last meal should be one of the nutrients that are found in meats, the amino acids, the fatty acids, not one that is found in plants, which is the daylight type substance of glucose. And we look at the other substrates that are found in things like bread, and there are amino acids found too, but we have to look at the classification of amino acids under daytime versus nighttime. So meats and eggs and fish and those things provide that kind of nutrient for the night, so you would eat them 2-3 hours before bed, 4 hours before bed, so you have what is considered to be a long sleep fast. You eat 2-3 o'clock, what we call 2-3 o'clock. You go into water after, then your body goes into that state for a good 12 to 16 hours of nothing, because you wouldn't be snacking at night. Your body goes into a state of not having no excessive glucose coming from the gut. If the body needs glucose in the night, and it does sometimes, according to the science, it does for the brain. But if it needs glucose in the night, it would get to the point of creating it from its stores by the liver. The liver has a certain amount stored there, and that's a good thing. You pull out from the store, you use that up, and if you could go beyond that, sometimes you could burn stored in the adipose tissues, we say the fat cells of the body. Nevertheless, what is happening here, we have our process of cleaning and the process of protein creation happening for the cleaning job at the night time and the healing job at the night time. So you don't sit and say to yourself from an application point of view, oh, I could eat anything and anything when it comes to the evening going into the night. No, you have to be conscious that your ribosomes would be spinning amino acids into human protein, and your cleanup processes are all proteins, enzymes are all proteins, your hormones are all proteins, the neurotransmitters all proteins, all human proteins. Your cleaners itself needs proteins to help them clean. That's your life, and we go to that point of saying, while you're cleaning, you do not want to have protein that is being folded, protein that is being made, protein that is being spinned out, actually being bombarded by reactive oxygen species. You do not want that to happen. And how does that happen? Well, that happens when the mitochondria is at work. So your mitochondria should be at rest in the night. The deeper you could sleep is the more the mitochondria goes into rest. The more the mitochondria goes into rest, yes, maybe it would not go down to zero, but it stays at a very low level of activity. The more it goes into the low level of activity, less glucose is consumed, meaning you do not have to supply glucose in the night. And so you don't supply ROS in the night either. So you get more and more of your human proteins to do its job in the night for repair. Of course, if you are in a situation where you have to heal, you extend that during the day in your healing process. Now, if you are a very healthy person and you have no common issues, then you get up in the morning and you have your source of whatever you eat, just being conscious that the mitochondria is now gonna consume. Let's say you are eating glucose sources from plants, because plants will give you glucose sources. You eat your glucose sources from plants. Be very conscious that you have to have vitamin C. So if it is the fruits, then you are generally more assured that you have vitamin C coming in to help absorb those reactive oxygen species. When that mitochondria gets the glucose, whatever the input is, it would need the vitamin C or any other antioxidant. If you are eating processed foods, then you would have to have your processed foods complemented with supplements of vitamin C or any type of water soluble antioxidant. Now there are other inputs for the mitochondria, and that is where vitamin E as an antioxidant is important to understand. That's the fatty acid types. So you have a very clear idea now that you, in the day, you are creating ROS. Apart from ATP, you are creating ROS. The ROS needs to be controlled by antioxidants, which is called the vitamin C. Now, if this process continues, and which is what has happened, this is where we realize the intercellular space, the environment becomes clogged up with what we call damaged proteins, because the cleaners cannot clean as fast. And here the challenge is the cellular space is very small. You have one protein, okay, cleaner clean out, takes a day. Then you have two protein, cleaner takes 2 days. Three protein, cleaner takes 5 days. Six bad protein damage from the ROS, you have 10 days. Then you have 65, so you will need 1,000 days. I'm just saying those random numbers, but I hope you get a drift. Now the amount of space to actually create for the ribosome to spit out a new human protein, which is the same cleaning enzyme or one-to-one helio, there is no space, because you have so much damage there, and the cleaner cannot pull it out quick enough that the whole place becomes locked in. For those who play that little game on the bus, you realize you have to know how to unlock things. And so this is where we could only start realizing the benefits now of our third stage of cleanup. That's the third state of cleanup, when the cells become so bad and the cells start realizing, even the nucleus starts saying, I cannot breathe, and the ribosome saying, I cannot spin out a new protein, and the mitochondria itself is just there. Now the mitochondria doesn't get too badly affected. Let's get that clear. What starts happening? The mitochondria starts taking over the cells. The mitochondria does not get so damaged as we think. It starts taking over the cells. What is happening to the mitochondria is it's allowing the cell could allow glucose to pass through miraculously, I don't know how, but also the mitochondria could actually survive, unlike the ribosomes and the protein based other things, the nucleus, the liposomes, and other organelles. Still, the mitochondria seems to be the one that could survive in that harsh environment by switching over from burning glucose in the oxygen environment to burning glucose in a non-oxygen environment, or what we call the fermenting environment, where carbon dioxide is present. Even though oxygen is present, the mitochondria knows how to burn glucose and also glutamine, an amino acid. Glutamine, it knows how to consume them and utilize them for its own sake in a conducive environment that is not conducive to the entire health of the cell. So the mitochondria, they continue to burn glucose, but they burn it differently, and they take in glutamine. Now, the best thing that could happen is to just kill the whole cell so everybody dies and get rid of the cell. And to kill the whole cell is a very good thing. That's what should have happened. But to kill the cell, the nucleus has to tell the ribosomes, make the enzyme poison. That's the name of the human killer. Let's call it poison. But the nucleus tries to send that message to the ribosome through mRNA. The ribosomes get that message, pull together amino acid A, B, C, D, F, G, and that's poison. Ribosome is making A, B, C, D, F, G, but yet what happens? It cannot get space to put on A, B, C, F, G, so it cannot exist. It cannot come into existence because the space in the cell is full. There might be ROS also there. They might just damage poison, and so poison cannot do its work. Poison cannot do the work of killing or programming the cell to die. And so the cell cannot die. Why? Because the intracellular space is loaded with a whole set of stuff. And so the only thing we could do at this point in time is help the body to do some program cell that is internal, but let's help the body do this through fasting. So if we go to the point of fasting, what we would do is really stop everything from happening. We would stop the mitochondria from getting glucose. We would stop the mitochondria from getting glutamine, because remember the damaged cell is now functional only at the mitochondrial level properly, because it could still make ATP, but it's making a smaller amount of ATP. It cannot make all the ATP because it doesn't have the space to stick all the ATP, but it wants to survive. The mitochondria wants to survive, so it will make 2 ATP by burning the same glucose in the presence of a non-oxygen environment. We say the fermentation Warburg effect environment. Whereas the glutamine is also going to be a source that it could ferment glutamine. So here is some notes on this whole thing. There is a paper here you could read. If we understand that glucose and glutamine, an amino acid, it's not an essential amino acid, it's one that comes from meats, and we'll look at the key source of glutamine. Or maybe I should tell you it's wheat. Wheat is the main source of glutamine. High source of glutamine is wheat, bread, and those things. And the high source of glucose, bread and those things. So let's So these two, glucose and glutamine, is gonna be the source of creating ATP when the cell is in that bad state, when it is really damaged. Fermentable fermentable fuels for those cells. Now they use this word when the cell reaches that state, but that's just one representation. It's the same thing for Alzheimer's, dementia, insulin resistance, diabetes. Everything is at the same state here. What we just discussed leads to everything. Now, in the new strategy that I'm reading about, we have to reduce the glutamine. And of course, you could go through this entire paper here and see the strategy to reduce it, or you could contact me so we could discuss this. But this is a very important amino acid. It is made, it comes from meats. Let's just look at sources. Beef, 4% of the total amount of amino acid profile. Ignore this word here like protein. I have to fix these things. So beef is a high quality amino acid source. It's not a protein source, it's an amino acid source. And glutamine is found in chicken, higher than in beef. Glutamine is found in fish. Glutamine is found in eggs. Glutamine is found in dairy products. Now, I wouldn't go plant source yet. Let me ask you a question. If you go back into what's happening into the cells, someone will say, oh, so that in beef or chicken or fish could lead to, no, cannot lead to malignant cells or damaged cells. This is not the process here. What you have to understand is what is leading to the problems is having glucose in the present without its antioxidant vitamin C, specifically in times when you are not active. Therefore, in the evening, you are becoming less active and you are consuming glucose in many forms, and you are blaming the beef. You are eating the beef with a burger, or you're eating beef with the rice, or you're eating beef with this, or you are going to eat the chicken that way, you're going to eat the fish that way, you're going to eat the eggs. You don't eat them by themselves. You eat them in the evening, specifically in the evening, when the body needs the amino acid and the body is spinning out more proteins at night. The body is taking amino acid and making much more proteins at night than in the day. The day is activity proteins, the night is healing proteins. You do have glucose coming in the bloodstream, and when glucose comes in and is forced into some parts of the body, like the mitochondria would still do a little glucose uptake and still make a little ATP, and once it's making ATP, a little ROS comes in, but you do not see vitamin C. So what's happening? ROS damages those proteins in the night. And when we say protein, we are speaking about what comes from the ribosomes. Now, you may say, well, plant source is so much better, but let's look. Soya protein, 6 to 8% of the amino acid profile. Wheat, 30 to 35% of wheat protein. Let me highlight it. The great bread we eat in is wheat. Would contain glutamine, and it is now very important we understand this, because we are told to eat the bread in the day. Glutamine in the day wouldn't be an issue coming from the wheat protein, gluten, whatever you want to call it. This should not be an issue. What should be an issue is when we eat this in the night. Quinoa, nuts, seeds, legumes. Now don't quote me on any source here. I'm just going to show you this compared to, you would say beef is and chicken and fish is, it's going to give you more glutamine, which could ferment. Now if you are in a situation where you are compromised and your cells are already in the state of fermenting, your mitochondria is fermenting, meaning it's taking glucose and ferment it to make 2 ATP. And then of course once it reaches it, it would use glutamine. It means you have to remove all these foods, and get what we consider to be, what is considered to be the purest form of amino acids you could get, which is why I would say Get your supplement of amino acid from Body Health. Use the link in the video below to get your Body Health if you are in this position. Hydrolyzed collagen is also a good source that has very little to no glutamine. That is only if you are in a very compromised position. And eggs are okay too. Although eggs is on the list here, it's about 4%, but eggs are okay, especially the white in the eggs. Supplements: whey powder 5%, casein powder 5 to 7%, plant-based protein powder 5 to 6%. All has glutamine. So when you take a summary of this here, you see what's going on. So egg and quinoa could be a good combination to keep your glutamine intake low if you do not supplement with perfect amino or something like that. Now glutamine is very important for so many things: energy production, immune system health, protein synthesis. It's very important, so you can't say you know you're going to use it. So the protocol that is discussed in this paper here, called Prosperous, I think, from Dr. Thomas Seyfried, is very important to listen to if you are in a very compromised position. And compromise here is big C words and other of those things. So let's see what is it. We could use low glutamine complete amino acid profile. Do not skip your amino acid profiles. So the supplements recommended is complete amino acid, eggs, your whole eggs, well, they say egg protein powder, white fish. I don't know about that. I believe you eat your fish and your eggs together because you need the fats to help the digestion of the protein in the process here. So get an egg with the fish. Plant-based protein mix, non-glutamine, so those that says is low in glutamine. Quinoa, right, have a modest amount. Dairy, casein in moderation. Hydrolyzed collagen is not mentioned, but I will tell you that this is the best way. Foods to avoid: bread, soya products, high glutamine meat like beef, chicken, turkey. They have higher levels, so you may want to avoid these, okay, when you're in that situation. But in my case, I would not give up beef because I am going to be consuming only the meats. I would not be consuming no plant-based product until I could heal. Now, why would I do this? Because I need all the nutrients from beef, which is the ruminant that has most nutrients, and I would be consuming it in a method where I will be trying to block glutamine uptake, and I'll show you how. Okay, so you could read this. You see collagen. I said collagen. Collagen is an excellent candidate when you're looking for amino acid that is low in glutamine, collagen. But I don't think it's full complete. Collagen needs some help. So while collagen is not a complete, it lacks tryptophan. So I use collagen with perfect amino or collagen with eggs, so it would help. It lacks one, but it is one of those. Hydrolyzed collagen is one of those that is very good from an amino acid profile, but you need to tie it in with something else, and it is very important to have it. You could do collagen in terms of bone broth by hydrolyzed collagen or gelatin made from the beef gelatin. I have something here to show you a little idea. So that's what I have so far. Now what I'm working on now is to tell you the supplements you want to tie in to reduce the whole process of glutamine going into the cells.